Hey pals, thanks for coming. Sorry about that. Alrighty. Now you should be able to see my video and my face. And then also there's another video that I have pointed at my cutting mat here. And when I'm doing any kind of close-ups of sewing, you'll be able to see that a little bit better. So if you click on that video, I'll do my best. I think I can make that pop up for you bigger, but yeah, let's get started. Hello, welcome. Thanks for joining. My name is Laura Fukumoto. I'm gonna turn down my fun honky-tonk piano. And thank you for joining us today for this mask making workshop. So I would like to start off with a land acknowledgement. So you might be anywhere in the world right now, but I'm in Vancouver on unceded Coast Salish territory, specifically the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nations. And I like to bring that up, not just because that's the culturally accepted thing to do now, but my connection to this land. And I think when we do a land acknowledgement, we should reflect on our connections to this land. And my connection is that I've lived here for the past 11 years and that my great-grandparents also immigrated to Vancouver in the early 20th century. My grandfather was born here in Vancouver, and during World War II, he was displaced into Japanese internment by racism. So the same cultural racism, I think with a mask making workshop, I would be remiss to not mention that there has been an increase in violence and violent interactions and assaults in Vancouver right now. So yeah, the same cultural racism that displaced my grandfather is still here in Vancouver, and some people are treated with more suspicion for wearing a mask, especially if we are Black, Brown, or Indigenous. And it makes me think about how some of us historically have better access to and less fear of police protection. So there is a whole lot of grief in acknowledging what has occurred in our homes and on our land. But I think it's important to listen and to learn from that. So thank you for doing the land acknowledgement with me. So who am I? Why am I doing this? Why am I here talking to you? My name is Laura Fukumoto again. I'm a costume designer. So I've been working in theater in Vancouver and theater and film for the past 10 or so years. And I'm definitely not an expert about masks or pandemics. So I am a critical reader. I've been gathering information from Canadian news sources, especially from the CDC. And I am fact checking to the best of my ability. So I am double checking things with friends and family. And the resources that I've referred to, I will post in the transcript that you should have received. So in this workshop, let's refer to my whiteboard. Oh, it's probably backwards, that's fine. I will refer, what we'll go over is why we're gonna wear a mask. So as we move into phase 2, I think it's really important that we look at if we're able to wear a mask and where we should wear one. We'll go over types of masks. So I refer to a CDC resource on face coverings and 3 really simple no-sew options that we can, we'll make in this workshop today. Then we'll go through making a few masks. Later, we'll go through basic hand sewing. And then at the end, we'll go through how to wear a mask, how to care for your mask, and all of that fun stuff. And there will be time for questions at the end. So why are we wearing cloth face masks? There's a really great Atlantic article that outlines this, and I've linked it in the transcript, about ingress and egress. So those are just really fancy words for egress is all of the spit and snot that you put out of your face, and ingress is all of the particles in the air that you might breathe in. So wearing a cloth mask will not prevent you from catching COVID-19. It is not, you know, you might hear the words N95 or PPE, which stands for personal protective equipment. That is designed to stop ingress. So that filters all of the air before you breathe it in. A cloth mask is just meant to limit when you cough or when you sneeze, wet egress leaves your face. So washing your hands, staying home if you can, and physical distancing, limiting your social contacts, those are your first lines of defense. So for those of us with working immune systems and with the privilege to be able to self-isolate, the risk is relatively low. Like, yeah, like it's really hard. I've been finding it hard to mitigate my anxiety as parks have been opening again and we have businesses opening again, but we are unable to control and mitigate all of those risks, but we can control our own egress, and we can properly wear a cloth mask. So in places like Hong Kong, they have near universal face mask adoption, and that has limited the spread to very, very few cases. And I think that we can do the exact same thing here in BC since we are doing so well already. And the final thing that I just want to say about this whole workshop is that wearing a mask is an act of community care. So you are not protecting yourself by wearing a face mask. You are choosing to try and help protect others. So it's a simple choice that we can make to help ourselves and help others. So I encourage you, I'll stop talking soon, but I encourage you to look up some peer-reviewed research, reputable news sources, and yeah, check in with family and friends about what their thoughts are too, just to make sure that we aren't feeding into that fear and that we're working from and making choices from an educated position. Every day comes with a risk, and we can only be mindful and try our best. So, deep breath. Let's make some masks. So there's a few masks that have been outlined in a CDC resource that are so easy options. So you can make a mask out of a bandana, which is 100% cotton usually, and you can get them from the dollar store for really inexpensive. They also go over how to make a mask out of a t-shirt, and it will end up looking like this, and you tie it around your face and your neck, the bottom. So that one is dead simple, and it took me less than a minute to cut it out. You can also use found materials or any materials you have lying around your house. For example, I had some vintage Dior fabric just hanging out in my house, and I made myself a fashion mask. It doesn't breathe very well, so not all materials are a good choice, but take a look around your house and see what you have. The other one that we're gonna make today, this is, perhaps you can see this better on the camera here. This mask right here, I made using staples, and it holds together pretty well. We'll go over how to do that later. The last mask that I have here, so these ones, this is a regular, I don't know if that's showing up in the camera very well. This is an N95 construction mask. I'll put that right here in front of my other camera. And then this is a regular disposable surgical mask that you'll see in emergency rooms. So the thing about N95, so they will block all ingress. And that means that it is completely shaped to your face and closed off, especially around the chin and around the nose. The thing that I didn't know about this particular type of N95 that I have, and that many people probably have from old painting projects lying around the house, is that there is an exhalation valve in this one. So when you breathe out, it's actually just your breath going out, and there's like no fabric and there's no filtration happening of your egress. So I wore this mask to the grocery store a couple times, and then I was like, oh no, I made a mistake. That was so silly of me. And I felt a lot of real guilt about that. But again, we're all doing our best. And then this disposable surgical mask is basically made out of plastic. It is made out of breathable plastic. So when you if you try to reuse it or rewash it, it actually won't hold up very well over time. So that's why having something that's a little bit more durable and made of fabric is a little bit of a better choice. Okay, my next point. Do you really need an N95 or a respirator when you go outside? Only you can answer that for yourself. If you happen to have access to an N95, and if you have it with a valve, definitely tape it over or something like that. Use it if that's going to make you feel safer. But please remember, there is a global shortage of PPE for frontline workers in hospitals and at grocery stores and retail locations. So the main takeaway, do what's best for your health and for you, because yeah, we're all a little anxious and we're getting through this together. So let's go over some fabric choices, because not all fabrics work the same. I would say if you're doing any kind of found material around your house, put it up to your face and see if you can breathe through it before you go to the trouble of making a mask out of it. So what you are ideally looking for is you're looking for a tightly woven poly cotton blend. You're looking for something that is breathable, and you're looking for at least 2 layers of fabric. So a bandana is 100% cotton. If I hold it up, I can breathe with little trouble. So 100% cottons, linens, etc., as opposed to a poly cotton blend, are very breathable, but a polyester will repel water droplets a little bit better. So if your mask, if you're wearing it for more than a couple of hours, it'll get wet, and that will, it will be less effective at blocking your egress. So polyesters are slightly more durable and they'll retain their shape better. So t-shirt material, which is called a cotton jersey knit, this doesn't hold its shape very well over time. If you're washing it, if you're reusing it, it becomes harder to sort of shape it around your nose, and for it to keep sort of that tight or well-fit seal around your face. So it works, not ideal. If you have just randomly grabbed a pillowcase or a bed sheet or an old t-shirt and you have no idea what the fabric content is, don't sweat it. It's really impossible to tell what the fabric content of a lot of fabrics are. And most cottons usually have some kind of polyester blend these days. And the most important takeaway from your fabric choice is it breathable? Are you comfortable? Are you going to wear it when you go to the grocery store and the pharmacy? So that's what we're going for today. And if you are working with a new cotton fabric from the bolt, make sure you wash it on hot, because it will shrink on your first washing. So yeah, definitely make sure you wash your fabrics before you make them into something. All right, awesome. So much talking. Do you want to actually make something now? Perfect. Because I do too. So the first 2 masks that we're going to make today are going to be from the CDC handout on face coverings. So they go over how to make a no-sew bandana mask, how to make a t-shirt mask, and then how to sew your own mask to wear. So we're just going to go over the bandana mask, and both the bandana and t-shirt mask are actually going to take 2 minutes each to make. So we start off with a bandana or any 20-inch by 20-inch piece of fabric that you might have. And then if you switch to, I'm gonna see if I can pin this other video, and hopefully that will be the big video for now. Oh, I have so many questions here. Okay, pause for 1 second, I'll answer your questions. Hello, everyone. Can I hold the whiteboard closer to the screen? Sorry, Erica, I'll hold it up later. Okay, hopefully everybody can see and hear me right now. Landfill masks are disposable masks. Do polyesters filter enough? From Miss Saitish. I would think so. There's always the option. So what we're going to make today later is a double mask. So it'll have a pocket on the inside, and then you're able to put in a piece of paper towel or a piece of toilet paper as a 3rd layer to filter. So again, fabric masks don't 100% block ingress, and that's what N95s are for. Okay, are we ready to make a bandana mask? Perfect. So if you're reading along, you need this, and then you also need 2 elastic bands. Maybe a hair band would work better, might be more comfortable on your ears. So fold bandana in half, topped down. There you go. So you should have it in half right now. So I've just folded this in half. And then the second instruction is take the folded edge, fold that top down into thirds, and then bottom up. And then next you want to take your elastic bands and then place them around the bandana, about 6 inches apart. And hopefully you have a ruler or something. Perfect. The last step is you have a bit of a pocket there. So you just want to tuck the ends inside the pocket. And it is a little bit crude, but it gets the job done. And then what you're left with is the folded edge will be against your face. I'm gonna put this back up again so that I can see myself. And then this goes around your ears. So again, not an ideal thing, but if you are running out to the grocery store and you don't have anything else, ta-da. And again, it's fitting around the nose and then around the face and chin. Again, is it breathable? Is it comfortable? So there's one option, very easy. So the second one we have t-shirt. Everyone's got an old t-shirt from something lying around their house. So we happen to have lots of UBC shirts. I am happy to cut these up. So we just have so many of them. Let me turn this down again. So get your sewing shears. I have a rotary cutter, gets the job done a little bit faster. But what you need is an old t-shirt, a pair of scissors, and you cut across the entire lower half. So from your nose to the bottom of your chin, you want to give yourself about 8 inches. Measure and cut there. Don't have to be too exact. Main thing is you want to get it done. That's the main takeaway today. Have something that's nice and comfortable that you're happy to use. Now the next instruction that I wrote out wasn't very clear, but essentially this part on one fold end is where your nose and your mouth will be, and you want to cut another rectangle. So I'm not sure if you can see very well. So we're going to cut another rectangular shape, and then these edges will become your straps. So you want to make sure that you leave enough fabric for your straps. You don't cut too close to the edge so they won't be strong. So leave about 1 inch there. Make sure that's nice and straight. And how wide do you need it for your face? Well, everyone's face shapes are different. Really, I think the rule of thumb is about 7 or 8 inches to get around your face. If you have a measuring tape, then you can get a little bit of a better measurement for yourself, but let's say I'll give myself about 4 inches right there. going to have some very, very long straps for this. So we can definitely cut that down a bit once we're done. Okay. Fashion show time. And then you will just need to cut these ends. So this is what you're left with. And ta-da. So again, this is only a single layer. Okay, so again, this is only one layer of cotton jersey knit, so it's not exactly great at blocking egress. So it is what it is. It's good in a pinch. So that's the t-shirt mask there. Okay, let's do something a little more fancy. So this mask has two elastic bands. It has a pocket on the inside so that you're able to put in an extra layer for more protection if you would like. But again, you want to make sure that it's breathable. I'm just going to put it on the mat right here so you can see a bit of a better close-up. The other thing that I have in this mask here is a wire at the nose bridge so that you can better pinch it to your nose to get a better seal there. So how do we get there? All right, you need to cut out 1 square of fabric, 10 by 12, ideally pre-washed, ideally some sort of cotton poly blend. Now what we're going to do, we're going to sew it with a stapler. Please don't tell my costume design professors that I'm teaching a bunch of people how to sew with a stapler. It is a no-no, but in a pinch, it will do. The other thing that we're going to use for this is a paper clip. And I have made it into a wire that can fit around the nose bridge. This twist ties, that also works as well. I've made a couple of masks with a few twist ties, but a paper clip is actually, it's very bendable, flexible, and it works just fine. Why I have cased it in tape, I'm putting it down on the mat here. I just used some of this clear packing tape and then cut it out. I've cased it in tape because occasionally the ends of the wire of paper clips, or if you're cutting your own wire, will be very sharp and it will poke out of the sides of the fabric eventually, and that's just annoying. So if you put it in a bit of tape, or if you make sure to sew around it really well, that can keep it, you know, encased for longer, and it has a bit more longevity and won't poke you in the face. Word of caution, don't sew through tape because that will make your needles very sticky and sad. So we're going to get some kind of wire for the nose. We have our 10" by 12" piece of fabric, and we have our stapler as well. Is that everything we need? Ah, yes, we need some kind of elastic. So I have 2 pieces of elastic that I'm going to use to loop around the ears, but you can use string, you can use anything that you have lying around the house. The point is to make sure that, you know, you just get it done, and then we can work on comfort and wearing later. So I'm gonna put these to the side for now. Take a sip of my tea. Okay. Step 1, I'm going to take the long edge, so the 12" edge. Let me just see how long this is. Let me move this down again so you can see. So we're taking the long edge and we're folding it in half. A hamburger fold, if you will. That's what they used to call it when I was 5. Next, we're going to take our wire. We're going to place it in approximately the middle. So, and fold it in. Then, let's use our stapler and we'll secure the nose piece in place. With a stapler, I'm like, oh good, I will go through the tape there. I think that's pretty good. A note about using staples, you want to use the staples so that this will now be the outside of the mask because it has the pointy end of the staples. So that is the right side of the mask, if you will. And then the closed edge of the staples will be the wrong side. And we'll go over after about using a little bit of glue or something to just, secure those staples a bit. Just because it's not the best, but again, we're looking at, if you don't know how to sew, how do we get it done? So we have the nose piece secured in place. If you want to take the raw edge of your fabric and turn it in, make yourself a 1/4 inch hem down here. If you have an iron handy, it's really great to iron folds as you go along. If not, sometimes if you just press it lightly, it will hold its fold for you. Perfect. You can even staple that too, like so. Bam. Next, we're going to make some channels for our elastic. So fold this in and then fold it in again. It's about 1/2 inch when I'm folding it. So you're taking 1 inch off the width. That's our right side. I'm going to fold it the other way. And then either iron or press down that channel and making sure that you're stapling on the wrong side, on the inside towards your face. Put a few staples in there. We'll do the same thing on the other side. So again, a stapled version like this, ideally the best thing you can do is have a sewn reusable mask. But in a pinch, you can get this done. Okay, so now you have this stapled pocket. There you go. Lastly, you want to take your elastic and you can use a bobby pin or a safety pin to help you put it through the channel. I'm just using a bobby pin here to help me feed it through. Then, ideally, get it to come through the other end. Nope, I lost it. Gone forever. Turns out that's the trickiest part, is getting it through. But yes, whether you're using a safety pin or whatever else, go in. This is really the hardest thing I'm gonna do in this whole workshop is try and thread this through with people watching. Anyway, cut it a little bit longer than I have and you won't cry yourself to sleep later over it. Ideally, you get this through, and if you pull it tight, it'll cause a pleat. We'll gather for you. Okay, I'm going to check if there's any questions. When is your next workshop? So this workshop is actually being recorded right now. Sorry that I didn't mention that at the beginning, but it will be available online. I don't have any further workshops planned right now, but it will be available through Powell Street Festival, and it will have captioning available. Yes, and that has been answered in the group chat. Oh, and Jobina says that your screen is blank right now. I'm sorry about that. Very sorry about the technical difficulties right now, everyone. What a time to be just learning new skills and new technologies on 10-year-old computers and all those things. Okay, well, I might just give up trying to thread this through in front of a group of people. Thanks for listening to me. Oh boy, I wish you were not on mute so that you could just laugh with me instead of silently laughing at me. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. Okay, who wants to learn how to sew? Because ideally you would put this through. It is just not working for me right now. Yes, you could also do that, but ideally you would, so Sherry, thanks Sherry, say put the elastic in before you staple it and try not to staple through because it is just not working for me right now. And then tying it, the last thing you would do is tie it into a loop and that would fit over your ears. Ideally, like so. You could also just staple it to the sides. It's a little bit stronger if you feed it through the channel, but it's really just not working for me right now, so. There we go. The theme of this workshop is get it done. Get a mask on your face, or if you get it on your face. Boom. The other thing you can do once you get the elastic through on your end, if it is just not fitting around your face very well, if you put in a pleat or two, you miss. Oh, good. Thank you for laughing along with me, because is it just fun to just do things live and be like, I hope this works when I do this live. But if you can add in a couple of pleats, that helps to shape around your face as well. So you can add in a pleat here. Boy, this was a day to wear like a sweater shirt, right? I'm just warm over here. Why am I wearing cashmere? Very foolish of me. There you go. Yeah, so a pleat is just a tiny tuck. Alrighty. So more or less, where were we? We can put in a pleat. And so that's just by pinching an amount of fabric. You want to do a couple of half-inch pleats here, so we can just check. Yeah, let's go to half-inch. So it'll be quite thick. It'll be quite a thick amount of fabric. So you really want to, well, bam, on there. Yeah, make sure you get that out. But yeah, you'll be left with a workable enough mask. So with the staples, ideally you want the pointy open ends facing on the outside again. You can add a little bit of glue if you have fabric glue or super glue. You can just put a dot in and that will sometimes keep it a little bit more secure. Adhesive, so this is called fusible tape. There's other glues called speed sew that you can use to hold things together. I'll that down here for a sec. So this works with heat. So if you put that between two pieces of fabric and you iron it, it'll stick it together. It's not exactly like the most durable, but again, gets the job done, gives you some more options. Yeah, and so this is a slightly more durable, it'll give you a few more wears out of it. You can always staple it back together, and you got yourself a mask. But let's grab another piece of fabric, and we'll do exactly the same thing we did last time. So I've already folded it in half. And so we have another 10 by 12 piece of fabric. I folded it in half here. I'm gonna take another one of these pre-cased paper clips or twist tie or whatever else you have, whatever other thing you have. I'm gonna put that in there. So I'm gonna use a giant needle so that you can actually see what I'm doing. If you can see the green cutting mat, then you'll be able to see with a little bit more detail threading a needle. I think we take it for granted that, you know, threading a needle is simple or something that we learned, because I think there's a lot of, yeah, become increasingly clear that there's a lot of home arts and sewing and things like that that people haven't learned in their lives, and it's never too late to learn something. So a tip for threading a needle: if you can't get it through the eye of the needle, sometimes if you make sure you have really sharp snips or really sharp scissors, you can cut it on an angle, and that will give your thread a little bit more of a tip. I don't know why I'm holding that up. You wouldn't be able to see it, but once you get it through, in order to get a bit of a stronger thread, I've actually cut it so we can double it. And then you want to put a knot into the bottom of the tail. So we have it threaded here, and we're going to put a knot into the bottom of the tail. When you are cutting a thread for hand sewing, you never want the thread to be longer than your forearm, because then when you're pulling it through the fabric, you're going to be moving your arm completely up and down. And that also, you want your thread shorter, because there's the chance that it's going to twist and snag on you, and then you'll just get completely frustrated and you'll give up sewing forever. So once we put a thread through the needle, I just made a knot by crossing it around my finger and moving my thumb forward and making the knot there. So if you're at home right now, with that last mask that we made, you just want to sew directly across the top of the folded edge. You can put a straight pin in to keep your wire in the spot that you want it to be. But with hand sewing, so we're just going to do a straight running stitch or a straight faced stitch. You want to be about a ½ inch from the top. So if you hide your, I'm going to put this down again, needle into, you can hide your knot on the inside there. But you want your stitches to be a little bit smaller. So it's about a ¼ inch. And then we pull them through. Something that might help is if you take a pencil and a ruler, if you really want to sew in a straight line, take a pencil and a ruler and just draw yourself a line right there. And you can load up a couple of stitches on the needle at a time. Sometimes having a longer needle helps too if you're just sewing in a straight line or doing a basting stitch, as it's called. Okay. Are there any other questions about sewing in a straight line? Maureen says, I remember having to teach my brother how to thread a needle. He kept trying to knot right by the eye so the thread wouldn't fall out. I guess I couldn't figure out why I was working. A lot of people think that you're supposed to put the knot right by the eye, but it makes it so much harder to pull the needle through the fabric. So I remember definitely a few people having said that. So I'm basting it quite wide apart. You can do a little bit smaller stitches if you prefer. And then the same rules would apply as with the stitched mask. You would fold it in half an inch on either side and stitch down there so that you still have a channel there and you can feed through your elastic, and you can struggle with it as I did publicly for your amusement. Okay. Again, these masks have a pocket. I'm going to turn this up a little bit so you can see my face again. These masks have a pocket so you can put an extra layer of filter in. So that can be some kind of paper towel or even toilet paper. So that pocket, yeah, just remember to remove that before you wash it, because it's never fun picking out wet toilet paper from something you've put in the washing machine. Yes, that is this mask. Perfect, so we do have a pocket. Yeah, and then just in terms of the length of the elastic, you can do loops like this that fit over the ears. A lot of people find that uncomfortable after a certain point. So another thing that we won't have time for today, but are really dead simple to make, are ear savers. If you have a kind of ribbon or anything, you can put sew two buttons, now that you know how to thread a needle, sew two buttons on either end of a length of ribbon, and then you can actually just loop that around the buttons, and then the weight of it is then displaced onto the back of your head. So it's a little less uncomfortable and it's a little better to wear more long term. Okay, so I just want to really quickly go over a little bit of wear and care. And again, I have the step-by-step written out into the transcript. So everyone should have received a copy of the transcript for today. And then that will give you a little bit more help in making your own mask. But how often should I clean my mask? That's a good question. Ideally, if you are wearing it for an extended period of time, let's say a couple hours, you should wash that right after you have worn it. And then remember, again, if you have an extra filter put in, don't reuse that. Take out the piece of paper towel or whatever it might be, dispose of it. How should I handle my mask? So there is another resource that I have linked that is from periodisle.com, and they're a local Vancouver company who have been donating masks to the downtown east side frontline workers, and they have masks available for purchase for $12 each if that's within your means. And so they have a great resource, and it is has been developed in with a doctor and has been reviewed. And so I encourage you to definitely take a look at that resource. But the general takeaway is, when you're wearing the mask, when you're out and about, try not to touch the front of it. Try not to touch it at all. Make sure that you wash your hands before you put it on. And then when you get home, make sure that you only try to touch the ears or the elastic, or maybe if you have the tie around the back, just try to touch that there. And try to either immediately wash it, so you can hand wash it, hot water and some detergent in your sink, or again, like, make sure you wash your hands, because that's our first line of defense, is just washing our hands and making sure that we pay attention when we're out in public and physical distancing and all that. Again, just treat this as if it's been out in the world and exposed to whoever and wherever we may have been. So yeah, try to keep it separate. If you have been, let's say, out at the grocery store, I think that's a place where we might come into contact with a lot of people. Just try to keep it a separate bag, separate until you're able to do laundry. don't reuse filters. I've said that. What if it keeps falling off while you're wearing it? Try to adjust the length of the elastic. So I saw a great video about, it was someone that was using a surgical mask. And if you tie a knot, if it's too big for your face, you can tie a knot at either side, and that'll make it slightly smaller. And then if you flip this, I'm gonna put this on this camera if you can see that as well. If you flip that in, then that's a little bit smaller for your face. The other thing too, the ear savers using 2 buttons and a piece of ribbon, that can help as well. You can adjust that to whatever size that you need. The other thing that you can use are bobby pins. Bobby pins, if you put one in and then cross it, that's not going anywhere. If you have longer hair, even if you have shorter hair, sometimes if you just get them right behind the ears and put them in place, that will help your ties not move. If it's, let's see, I have this mask here. I've left the ties open at the sides. Put this here right now. Sometimes if the elastics aren't really getting above the ears, just because maybe the length is a little bit off or what have you, if you have a ponytail, or you're able, if your hair is long enough to put a ponytail or a small bun on your head, sometimes that's enough to hold the ties in place above your ears. So an important note, just to wrap everything up here, according to the CDC and according to a lot of folks who I know who work in childcare, please don't put masks on babies. Please don't put masks on anybody who's under the age of 2. Not everyone is able to wear a face mask, but especially with infants, babies, and toddlers, they're especially sensitive to carbon dioxide rebreathing, it's called. So yeah, definitely, like, it is scary times out there, but not everyone can wear a face mask, and I think that's true of, you can't look at somebody and know why they might not be wearing a face mask, and it is none of our business. So again, it's really hard, especially I'm feeling that anxiety right now too, as we're going into phase 2, but you don't know why anybody makes the choices that they do, and it's none of our business. So let's try not to be the physical distancing police. Okay, we've gone a little bit over, but is there any questions? If you have any questions, throw them in the chat box and I'll see if I can I use reusable bags to make filters, says Karen. Absolutely, yeah. I think that as long as it's breathable, that's the only thing too, is I made this mask and it has a really high weave cotton. It's called coutil. But it doesn't breathe very well at all. So it looks nice, but I can't wear it out in the world for very long. So as long as it's breathable, that's absolutely, yeah, I think reusable bags is great. I ended up using a basmati rice bag, the fabric bag that my rice came in, and I made a mask out of that, and that was pretty good. Has the Priya basmati rice girl on it. Yeah, are there any other questions today? And again, if anyone has any, if it's in the name of making a mask, I will make my email available to you and I'll answer your questions as much as I can. But hello, thank you so much, especially to the Powell Street Festival. To wrap up here, thank you to Erica, and Sammy and Emmy with Powell Street Festival, and thank you to the Vancouver Board of Parks and Recreation, Arts, Culture, and Engagement section. Thanks, Sherry. Hey. Oh, and also, if you want to follow me on Instagram or on Animal Crossing Pocket Camp, screenshot this and be my friend. Thank you so much for coming today. And I just want to, this is the last thing I say, I promise, say that this is an act of community care to wear a mask if you are able to wear a mask. We are just pulling up all sorts of skills that we didn't know that we needed right now, aren't we? What a time to be alive, guys. Please stay safe, take good care, and remember to get some sun and take deep breaths. Thank you all for attending. Okay, take good care.